All right, I'm back on my Cress Welsing, just continuing to recognize the genius. I was just sitting here, man, my mind, some thoughts came across my mind about going back to the ISIS papers once again, and what's just mind-blowing to me about that whole book and everything she, stated in that book when dealing with colorism, white supremacy, and all the symbolism that shows you how the oppressor thinks or whatever. And I was sitting here like thinking about a lot of stuff that goes on today, or has been going on for probably many years, but definitely been highlighted in the last few years with this group they call Incels, right? I remember this one kid, young man, that killed some people. He was the son of like a Hollywood producer or something. The kid had everything financially, his dad, he had everything, but he couldn't get no female, and he hadn't had sex or whatever with no female. So he made videos talking about it and how, he was upset. You know what I mean? He definitely was upset with black men and the fact that they're getting, these pretty, what he considered pretty white girls or whatever. And it was pissing him off because he couldn't, instead of just, looking in the mirror and, trying to better himself or whatever. Maybe you don't have the charisma. I don't know what it is, because people like who they like at the end of the day. But this guy, he couldn't handle it. And he ended up doing some psychotic, just insane behavior, right? So that just brings me back to Cress. Like somehow or another we got brought up, as black men. We got brought up in this guy's situation. It's plenty of other females, but for some reason he's so disturbed by these black dudes that are, able to, attract the type of females that guy wanted or whatever. Insane, bro. You do not control them females. You don't control their choices. They choose who they choose. We have no say in the matter. We all just, present our resume to them. And if they find that your resume fits them, they'll hire you for the job. It's that simple. Like, and this guy, he lost it, but it's been several after him, several before him. The same exact thing. They're angry that they don't have it like that, and they always tend to bring up black dudes. You know what I'm saying? And they're frustrated about it. So when I think of Cress's book, The ISIS Papers, I think about the symbolism of the gun. I already brought up the pool table before. Football, she described it basically as the goalpost. It's like a white female's legs open and then the brown ball, get kicked in between it or whatever, something like that, if I remember well. And it was just a bunch of different symbols, that she brought up that shows you how those guys' brain think when it comes to, that. But where my mind starts to just wonder, or just wonder, is that first of all, it's all about control. Once again, it's all about control, right? So this guy, this white male, he thinks in his mind's eye, he thinks that white females are his property. He has to, because it's bothering him when she make choices outside of him, that don't look like him. Then they turn into these angry, vicious name calling, just get really demonic with it. Like some have even killed females or beat them just because they chose to date someone other than the reflection of them and shit. Even though they may not have known this woman, she ain't in their family, she's nothing to them, but it affects them a certain way. And I think it's, it makes a person, when you're dealing with psychology, it makes them feel insecure. It's like, especially those who don't have the charisma, who don't have that type of appeal to attract, whatever. So when they see others having that ability to, and this whole conversation is towards the real racist. It ain't to generalize all white dudes, or white females. It's literally directed at the racist who loses their mind, behind this or whatever. So this is about the white supremacy of it, right? So, and that's what Cress' book was based on. And so it's insecurity, man. It ends up making them feel insecure, like they're not equipped, or they're not. What's the word? I can't think of it, but insecure is definitely it. You know what I mean? So. But what happens with them, instead of just like, okay, trying to see why is it that they don't attract females or whatever, what makes them turn into this hate-filled, demon that want to destroy or harm, hurt, whatever, kill someone? Like what is in you that turns you into that, instead of just backing up, taking a good look and say, hey man, I see the type of person or personalities that these females are attracted to. So maybe it's something about me that I may have to fine tune or adjust or whatever it is. I'm gonna find a way where I have the ability. And the crazy thing is, there are some females out there that would find these particular dudes, attractive or whatever, but that ain't who they want. See, they want they want the top of the line, you know what I mean? Quoting Patrice O'Neal, they want the top shelf. And you may not be that guy that can get the top shelf, so it's just the way it is. But the point of this, me getting this out of my head, is that they literally think that those females are their property. They're the property. And in the system of this thing we live in, the governmental system, the system of America, they do things to, and this is bigger than just those guys. And the system is set up like that too. It's like they have made it to where They have made it to where they show their female that they are in control and they have the power, even coming down to this, whether I agree with abortion or not, it doesn't matter. I am one of those people that believe in choices, right? You having the choice, to do, and I ain't saying it's right and I ain't saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I don't believe in nobody telling me what to do about nothing. And even if I fuck up, I suffer for my mistakes. I suffer, whatever, because everything is cause and effect, right? And I may be doing something that is perceived wrong, right? In the natural order of life things, and there may be karma that comes back to me for that, you know what I mean? So I'm ready to accept that, but I don't like for another human being to have control to where they telling me what I will and will not do, you know what I mean? Like they created laws to control them. Like, it's insane to me. But so that's just one example of them showing and flexing that they have ownership, so the big picture of this thing, right? So when these females are sitting there and they are like, I'm choosing to be with a black male, I'm choosing to be with a Latin male, I'm choosing to be with an Asian male, whatever Hawaiian, whatever guy that they choose to be with, because that's what they are attracted to, because attraction is magnetism, right? That's how you attract to something. Two magnets attract and come together. Like, it's natural. It ain't a color thing. It's just like there's something deeper going on that attracts that person to a person, you know what I mean? And you have to understand that. Like, you can't just sit up here in your feelings and lose your mind because them choosing outside of you make you feel insecure. You won't admit that, but it makes you feel insecure. Like, who are you? When you've been told all your life you're the greatest thing in the world, you're the best of the best and the this of the this, and you're supreme to everybody, and yet this girl go and choose somebody supposedly in your mind lesser than you. How do that make you feel? That's the problem. So these lose control. So for the past several years, I've been seeing this thing throughout the media, where these white men feel like, they're being replaced. So all of this hatred that is coming out, all this racism that is coming out of them, is like, they call it the big white replacement or whatever. White males are being discriminated against, and everybody's looking around like, where are they being replaced at? They dominate the business world, they dominate government, all the power positions of everything. So they're not being replaced in none of those things. You can't, like, none of it. They dominate the courts. They're the majority judges, you know what I mean, that runs the courts. They dominate being, the sheriffs, the police, everything of power positions. They're by far the dominant of all of the power positions in the country. So the only thing that's left in my mind is that they'll feel like they're being replaced sexually. That's all it could be, because everything else they dominate, and those positions that they dominate are the whole power structure. They dominate even in sports. They coaches. They're the leaders. They are the owners of football, basketball teams, any sports team pretty much. They're the dominant in coaching those teams. You could have a bunch of black players in football to dominate. Black people could be dominate as the workers, the ones who do the actual job. But the people that are the supervisor or the foreman, we call them coaches, they're predominantly white. So they're not being replaced in nothing. There's nothing that indicates it or shows it at all. They dominate media, everything that has power. And then the only thing that I can think of when they say the great white replacement is the fact that white females started to make choices and started to say, well, you know what? I like that Hawaiian dude, or I like that Korean dude, or I like that, Mexican, or that Puerto Rican, or that black guy, or that Jamaican, this, that, and other. When they started seeing that spread like that, that's when these incel, insecure people start losing their minds, and that's when they start propagandizing this great white replacement because a bunch of insecure dudes don't spread it, the propaganda that this is insane, man. Propaganda is powerful. But Francis Cress was dead on, man. Like, I'm starting to understand and think that, the reason why black people get harsher sentencing when a crime is committed, in comparison to their white counterpart doing the exact same crime in the same courtroom, pretty much, you know what I mean, is because they're not just locking up a black body. What they're doing is they're locking up a black penis. Everything is about black man penis. It's going to come back to that, no matter how people hear this and trying, that's bullshit, whatever. It's a fact. It's a fact. You know what I'm saying? When we step in the room, people get weird, you know what I mean? As if we're doing something to them. Just us existing affects them for some reason. You know what I mean? We breathing, it affects them, and so it comes back to that. It's because when that man, when bro walk in the room, the insecure, and I ain't talking about confident white dudes, I'm talking about those incel, insecure, weak, the ones who express racism all the time, because those are the weak. If you have to go out your way to hate another human being, there must be something weak about you. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. I think it all comes back to many black dicks that they can lock up, to keep them out of circulation out here around these females, that they feel that they own, that's their property. Then that's one way to keep them away. The other way is if they have to join police forces and shoot these people, shoot black people, men, most likely. You know what I'm saying? There have been instances that they, definitely killed black females, but mostly it's black men, unarmed black men, and they're just trying to eliminate black dick. That's all they're doing, bro. That's all they're doing. They're trying to go around, create groups to go around and terrorize, so that black dudes have fear from doing certain things. This ain't got nothing to do with us, man. The female is attracted to who they are attracted to, but weak, insecure men who can't control their emotions will start to do psychotic things, and that's what's happening. That's what we see. Francis Cress, like I said, man, she's brilliant. I just need to get that out. I don't know if people will agree with any of this, but I swear on everything that I love, I see it for what it really is. I'm out.